welcome to another edition of the
Table.
Excellent.
I got excited.
Yeah, thank you though. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and on today's show, I have with me on the panel from my extreme right,
Alex.
Aisha Verano. Frida.
and I'm Jeremiah. And we've got an interesting, thought-provoking, very interesting topic
Okay.
to discuss today. And we will be right back after this. We'll get right into it.
Jesus brought good news.
We're really stepping up evangelism. We're gonna, show you how we do it.
If you want to become better at soul winning, just win souls. The more you do it, the more you do it.
Hello and welcome to Stepping Out.
That step is important because just as you took the step to receive your salvation, others need to be able to do so the same way. You can be the turning point in somebody's life.
Welcome back. On today's show, we'll be talking about the pressures of growing up. Becoming an adult, taking on responsibilities, their expectations of you from other people, expectations of you from yourself, things that you want to achieve and all these things. And we just, on today's panel, we'll be discussing how we are all handling this. We are at different ages, which I shall not mention. So
That was meant for me, guys.
We'll be looking at how obviously different people are taking on these transition, should I call it, in life and how we are thriving with it. So firstly, we'll just deal with, the expectations that you set for yourself as you're approaching obviously certain ages and getting into a certain bracket in your life, right? Do you feel pressure and if you do, why do you feel? Like, why do you think you're feeling this pressure? Anyone can jump in. So.
Let me say. I think, the question kind of is applicable to everybody though, because at every point of growth or maturity, there is societal pressures that is placed on us.
Right.
Some of them are cultural, some of them are, I don't know, from other places. But yeah, even if you're, from primary school to secondary school, that is the pressure. Are you going to go to grammar school? What are you going to achieve? What's that? That's pressure. And then from secondary school, to, just so on and so forth. And then you hit, 21, 22, or you finish uni, and then more pressure. So it wasn't enough that you've gone through your education and now you managed to grade a high grade. Yeah. Now there's extra pressures. You have to actually be a good employer at work. It's not like now you're finished, the world is over. So you have to keep going. And I think the pressures are there to keep us attaining for things that it's set in front of us to be good. However, they don't actually have to bring us down, if that makes sense. It's like, sometimes they say adrenaline will push you past your normal abilities. Right. But adrenaline doesn't come if you're comfortable. Right. So anyway, that's me for now.
Anyone want to chip into that part before we go on to the next question?
To be honest, I agree with what she said about like societal pressures. At all stages in our lives, we have pressures that we put on ourselves, or pressures that our families put on us. Oh, you have to be first in your class, for example. You finish class, then it has to be a first class, or you have to do this course. So at different stages, there's always like pressures that like you either put on yourself or family put on you or other members of society.
And how do you? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It was interesting to hear your take because I was thinking to myself when I was younger, I think we had the pressures of being the best in school at first in primary school. Yeah, that was it. Just primary school for me. Secondary school, it was about having the best clothes. Yeah, having money. Yeah, having other stuff, and I think it does depend on where you grow up as well. That has a huge influence because, it depends where you grow up as well. Because that had a huge influence on what I was kind of going after at a young age. And it's striking to see that also was a pressure. I didn't really... I didn't see it. I didn't think of it as
peer pressure. Kind of thing, right?
Indeed, right? I didn't really see it like that, but
I used to hate non-uniform day because oh my god, why is it that I have to get new trainers every non-uniform day? That my mum can't understand. She can't comprehend that conversation.
Yeah, see, my dad would not buy anything, nothing.
So I guess the pressure in that essence is then, you know, because this can go through many areas of life. Then your pressure to find the money somewhere, somehow,
exactly.
to kind of attain the look, to be part of the in crowd.
Pressure on your
family or
I mean, some people go beyond their family. I know, you know, because I like to talk to loads of young people who they don't care what they have to do to get it. And, you know, as we've all been growing up in London, we know what people are willing to do to be able to get these things. And I think that is pressure without realising that is, a big area of pressure, actually. The look, what is the look? And
having the look, isn't it?
Yeah. Even now, it's still there, Instagram. Everyone, like, people don't get dressed until they look at it from Instagram first.
Instagram is the biggest pressurizer, if I can put it that way, pressurizer. No, pressurizer. If that's a word, I coined it. If it's no word.
You did that.
You understand? That's me. But I think Instagram is pretty much like back in the days when you go to your estate or to your ends, as they call it. Then all the oldest are getting this and getting that, cars and this and women, all that stuff, you know. And then you feel like you want to be like that. So you now start, you know, some people start trapping and whatnot, just to try and have the money because the parents will not give you all these things, you know. And I think now Instagram has become that platform. Instead of going back home from school and seeing the elders doing this, driving these cars and whatnot, you see it on Instagram, you see it on social media. You see people are living a certain lifestyle, you want it, you can afford it, you know. And then a lot of people, like you said, will find other means to try to attain it.
Yeah.
So with all these pressures, now we've now grown through all these stages, and we've now reached a place where it's like this is the time to settle in life. You know, as a young man, as a young woman, you want to settle in life where there's now expectation of, for example, marriage, career, financial status, some types of achievements and whatnot. Whether we set it on ourselves or other people are setting it, or it can even be both. We are giving ourselves our own targets, and then other people are giving us targets, family, you know, people that we look up to or people that we're related to in one way or the other. And sometimes you feel like, okay, cool, I've not done A, B, C, and D. For example, I used to say to myself, now this is very drastic.
Confess.
Very drastic. I used to say to myself, if I reached 30 and I hadn't made my first £1 million, I'll commit suicide.
Hey.
I said this to myself when I was a teenager. You understand? And obviously, as the time approached, I'm not saying that I'm 30 yet, but as the time...
Jesus is Lord.
Say it to your chest.
I'm old enough. Okay? I'm old enough. But as the time was approaching and whatnot, obviously my mentality changed. I got to understand how life works a lot more. You understand? But then there are different aspects of it that you must start thinking, wait, you know, my friend said something. He said his little brother, who's like 20, 22 with his friends, some of the things that even some of our friends have not attained yet. Some of those younger ones are now attaining it. For example, some of them have their own houses. Some of them are driving certain cars. Some of them, so all these things now makes you feel some type of way. So, like with you guys, how do you then handle those things? The things that you wanted to do that you've not done yet, and all those things. Like, do you take them as disappointments, or like how do you handle all that stuff?
I stay in my lane, I stay in my lane. And I think it's from learning and maturity that you come to that realization. Right. Because clearly, some of these things are things that you wanted. It's not like societal pressure. You're not looking at Instagram thinking, oh, that one's got this one, I want it. It's something that you genuinely, you know, girls grew up playing with Barbies, and then Barbie had Ken, and, you know, they had a big house. You know, you're looking at me confused.
No, I've never had any of those. So
okay.
But it's all right. No, it's fine.
So basically a doll. There's a guy, and then you play about them getting married, and then you play about them being in a house, and then they have a nice car. And all these are perfect formations, and this is your, outside of your societal norms and the rules in your house, these are things that you have kind of gone into dream world of. Right. So obviously you need to kind of work yourself out of them. How I overcome these issues is my time will come, and if it's really, and you know, some of these young people now, I know young people driving cars that I can't even afford. And then you have to ask your question, are they affording it, or or how are they getting it in the first place?
Right.
You know, so I think it's how they're getting there. Am I happy to do those things to get to where they are? Right. So then I'm secured. You know, the conversation you guys had previously about a broken relationship is better than a broken marriage. So I'm not going to look at someone who's married and be like, oh, I know I want to be married, I wish I was there. Actually, I'm secured in myself, knowing that I'm not going to be in a broken marriage, because right now, either I need to work on myself, or I need to, I don't know, let the other person work on themselves. Right. So it's about analysing who you are, where do you want to go, and what principles really do I want to apply getting there, because that's when you kind of get peace. I think, for me personally, I get peace about some of these things is because I'm like, okay, how do I want to get there? How do I want to get into a marriage? I don't know. I never had this thing about being a millionaire, just because. I mean, that's just me. But I didn't have that. So for me, it was about making sure I had a roof over my head. I can provide for myself on a basic level. And if I can do that, then I'm all right. If I can attain any more. Do you know what I mean? I think it's about scaling back what reality is and not beating yourself up about it, because this is you now. And actually taking the joys from your today. Otherwise, you let the woes of tomorrow steal your joy from today. What kind of life is that? You have a bunch of young people killing themselves. For what reason? Because they didn't attain certain things that they feel like they should have. Their friends got this, their friends got that, and they don't have it. But actually enjoy your today whilst you're still striving for tomorrow's things. But don't let tomorrow's struggles take away your today's joy, because you've earned something. You've got something in your hand. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, it's a thing about where exactly does that pressure come from? So for me, the first thing I would do is, okay, think about it. Where does this pressure come from? Is it because I actually want it? Or is it because someone else wants it for me? And a lot of it is actually because someone else wants it for you, as opposed to maybe you grew up saying this is what the norm should look like. So in your head, in your mindset, somehow you're thinking, oh, this is how it should be. This is what it should look like. This is the timeline. However, moving forward, then you realize, okay, these are actually your goals. These are your targets, which are sometimes different from societal pressures or your family pressures. So for me, I'm like, okay, where does this particular pressure come from? Okay, if it's a personal one, I deal with it differently. If it's people, for me, I'm one of those people where if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. I have my principles. I stand by them. And regardless of pressure, I stay strong in what I want to do. Now, do I want to be rolling in loads of money, billionaire? Yes, I want all of that and more. I'm ambitious. However, I'm also very patient. I know that I will get these things in due time. I'm not going to do any and everything and compromise myself just to get it. Now, do those opportunities come and they're like, oh, you do this, you get this. But no, because I feel like it's important to be secure in yourself as a person. And don't just succumb to pressures just because, you're like, oh, we're going to get this money. Because, okay, for example, they're like, do this for this money. Once you start making adjustments like that, it becomes easier to make adjustments. So for me, I refuse to make adjustments just because I want something. Adjustment, like negative adjustments, I mean. So I think that's what works for me. Now, if it's the pressure I put on myself, I make sure I turn it into a target. So for me, I work very well with targets. And so I set the target for myself. If I'm like, okay, this is what I want to achieve, I set targets for myself. I also make it clear about how I intend to achieve it, how I want to achieve it. What do I need to do to get from where I currently am to where I need to be? Now, am I going to be so stringent on the dates in which I want to achieve it? No. I used to do that as a kid, but now I'm not so stringent like, oh, in year 2020, I must do this. But what I do is at every stage in which I do something, that is success. So if I'm moving on from one thing in which I am doing now, and I've moved on to, so for example, there was one time I was like trying to get a training contract, it was horrid. From trying to get a training contract to then getting a training contract, that's a step. You know, for me, that's success. It might not be, oh, I remember when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to be a QC by the time I'm 25. Yeah, that didn't happen. But like, does that mean it's still not going to happen? No, that just means I put in the work and I'm patient with myself and I do not compromise myself in getting where I need to be.
So what do you think people are lacking when they fall into depression, for example? Because I thought, with what I said before, I know it was a bit extreme, but I thought I would fall into depression. If by that timing I had not achieved that thing I mentioned, for example, I thought I would fall into depression. And a lot of people do fall into depression because they feel like they failed themselves and they feel like some feel like they failed in life. You know, so what do you think is the element that's missing from such people not being able to still, you know, because as long as you're alive, there's still time. Yeah. You know, and I think we forget sometimes about, we attach timing and age, you know, we make age a timeline for certain things that we want to. Whereas sometimes you need to learn through those stages. For certain opportunities, sometimes opportunities even came, but you were not ready to take advantage of them. So what do you think is the element that's missing from people that obviously fall into depression and fall into those kind of situations?
For me, I think it's understanding. There's a certain understanding that's needed and necessary. You know, I remember when I was approaching 30. I know I don't look it though. No, but when I was approaching 30, just before that time, you know, a lot of my friends were literally becoming like super rich. You know, one of my friends, he went on to become a millionaire, and I was like, what's going on? So at that moment in time, I gave my all to business. You know, I started doing business. Church didn't see me so often.
This is true.
You know, at that moment in time, church didn't see me so often. I was making money. I thought, yes, okay, cool. Then I had a stroke, crazy enough. And after that, I had the stroke, I had to slow down, and then I started feeling, you know, that depression trying to attack me, and I've never experienced anything like that before in my life. So, you know, it was the understanding aspect of things. You know, thank God for Pastor Chris, so I'll explain why in a second. But then I had the opportunity one time to go and sit down with my friend. I went to go and do some business, and I wanted to get some investment, so I sat down with him, and he said to me, that you're looking at me now. He said, but for 5 years, I had nothing. But nobody knew. You know, so nobody knew that he was struggling. There was a period where he was struggling, and now he's this big, massive agent, you know, all around the world, and they're saying, they're writing his name in papers. But you didn't know that at the beginning he had absolutely nothing, you know, and he was struggling for a period of time. So it's like I said, it's the understanding. The understanding there are rhythms of life, you know, and that's why I'm grateful to Pastor Chris, you know. The stage I'm at now, you know, and not to sound preachy, is I've learned how to live independent of circumstances. You know, the word of God has entered my heart so much that, you know, it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside. I'm literally unmovable, you know, and I know what's coming because I'm putting certain principles to work consistently and daily. And like you said, it's a patience thing. It's coming. It's coming. The Bible says that, wait for it. It said, though it tarry, wait for it, it will surely come. And that's essentially what's happening to me. So it's an understanding of life. It's going to come if you're putting in the work and you're putting into work, certain principles, in process of time, it has to come according to law. Like
when your friend bought a house at 25, and you all went there to do housewarming.
You know what's funny about that? One of my friends, she bought a house really early, and you know, it's like I said, it's when you speak to people, you start understanding things. You know, she was living at her mum's house all that time, not paying rent.
Do you understand?
Saving about £1,000 a month. all right? You know, and in the process of time, when she buys the house, you're there thinking, wow, I wish I had done that. But then you're paying rent, you're paying 1,200.
Since you were like
you know what I
17
mean? Exactly, right? You know, since you were young.